you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Saturday, December 17th, 2022. I am your host, Monte Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. I want to thank everyone watching last week, Sunday and Monday shows. The numbers are very good. Make sure to give us the thumbs up on this particular piece of sports history. Yeah, that's right. Sports history that we have here. I want to thank everyone again. Make sure to subscribe to the Team NBS YouTube channel. We have obviously new logo, new theme, Team NBS. Let's play this one more time for everyone who thinks we're still nuts in both sports. So we are doing, make sure to subscribe, make sure to give us a thumbs up. We are doing this show today because obviously we have a ton of games, 3 games today in the NFL. College football is going to be played today. You're going to have NBA. And then tomorrow, I did not want to go up against the World Cup. I want to watch it. Over the next 2 weeks, you're getting NFL, NBA, college basketball, college football on Saturday and Sunday. Best 2 weeks of sports if you are a sports fan. Best 2 weeks of sport if you are a sports fan. We have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. The George Lopez is going to join us. Had a guest cancel last minute. George Lopez always does a great job substituting. You know, he's a pinch hitter, but he's really an everyday starter, so we appreciate him taking the time. Make sure to follow me on social media, on Twitter, MonteJP231, and on TikTok, over 2 million views, Monte Perez 231, and we're also doing the full Monte Sports Show podcast. We're also doing the full Monte Sports Show podcast. So what we're doing here is we're doing 2 shows a week. Sunday, usually at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then we do the Monday night show with Brad Ward, with A. Marie at 6 p.m. Eastern, and now we're doing 2 podcasts per week. 2 podcasts. So just type in the full Monte Sports Show podcast. Doing 3 or 4 articles a week, just nonstop sports stuff. Nonstop sports stuff. Okay, we start each show with the good, the bad, and the funny. The good, the bad, and the funny. Let's start with the good. Now, I know certain people are not into soccer. I'll be honest with you. I am not a big soccer fan during the regular season. For example, here, I did watch the finals of the MLS. What an exciting game between Los Angeles and Philadelphia. But I don't watch every day for the same reason why I don't watch, unless it's a Met game, I don't watch every day Major League Baseball game. 2-1 game in June means nothing. A 2-1 game in the playoffs is everything. Same with hockey, right? I mean, I'm a Ranger fan. Rangers are playing much better since Trouba, their captain, have called them out. New York Rangers have won 5 in a row since they were sluggish. And, he called them out. But I don't watch every hockey game because, again, a 2-1 game in January, February is not that exciting to me. But a 2-1 game in the playoffs, you're on the edge of your seat. And that's what I feel about tomorrow's World Cup. You have such great stories. France is trying to become the first World Cup team to win back-to-back World Cups since Brazil did it in 1958 to 1962. France won it 4 years ago, trying to repeat, facing Argentina and Messi. I am all in on Messi. I am all in on Argentina winning this game. Messi's been the best player in this World Cup. But just watch it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time just to see the fans, right? The fans, they sing songs. It's like a tailgate, nonstop dancing, singing, cheering. And it's so exciting. Again, early start tomorrow for the World Cup, 10 a.m. Eastern. I've watched every time the World Cup has been on. I've watched every game. It's super exciting, especially in the rounds where it's literally lose and go home. And one thing that, I keep saying is you watch these fans and these players after they lose, they are crying hysterically, like a baby cries, like a little hiccup, like, and then when they score, they cheer, they sing. It's like just a party. There was a video on TikTok. Again, follow me on TikTok, Monte Perez 231. But there was a video on TikTok of thousands of Argentinians singing in front of Messi's grandmother's house, singing, thanking her for this guy. Again, he's never won the World Cup. France looking to become the first team since Brazil did it in 1958 and 1962 to win back-to-back World Cup. Messi's trying to get his first. I'm rooting for, obviously, Messi and Argentina. So that's the good. Now let's get to the bad. Listen, the NBA has a problem. I've talked about this on my podcast. They have a problem with load management. Now, this is just some of the games recently, right? That guys are sitting out. Look at this. Portland against Minnesota. Look at all the guys sitting out. Look at this one. Atlanta against Memphis. Bogdanovich, Trae Young, all out because of load management. And I'm not going to pick on Trae Young because he plays about 70 to 74 games a year. But this is a huge problem in the NBA. Load management. Huge problem. Yes, I am rooting for Messi. Thank you all for joining us. But let's go back to the NBA and the load management problem. Again, look at all these people sitting out. Now, some of them are legitimate injuries. But the NBA is becoming college basketball. And what I mean by that is the regular season is irrelevant. All they care about is the playoffs. I remember growing up, I would watch Big Monday. Big Monday. Look at that classic picture there of Chris Mullin with St. John's, Patrick Ewing in the 1980s. As a young kid, I would watch Big Monday on ESPN. And what that would mean is they would show a 7 o'clock game, Big East. For example, St. John's, Georgetown, Syracuse, Pitt. Then they'd show either a Big Ten game, or Iowa versus Ohio State, Michigan versus Michigan State, or a Big 12 game, Kansas State. And then at midnight, they'd show UCLA, USC, Oregon, Stanford. I used to love watching college basketball. I watch maybe 5 games a year now, and 4 of them are Duke, and 1 of them is probably Oregon. And for all you people saying, oh, the players are soft because of load management, no, this is not on the players. This is not on the owners. First of all, the players are not soft. LeBron James is 6'10", 6'9", 250 pounds. He plays point guard. Luka, 6'9", 240. Patrick Ewing was 6'10", 30 pounds lighter than LeBron James. He played center. Okay? Would John Stockton ever be able to guard Luka? Luka outweighs him by 60 pounds and is 8 inches taller. So don't give me this BS players are softer. This is on the owners. Everyone in the organization knows that if Luka has a tight hamstring, you're sitting him for 1 or 2 games because they want that playoff money, that playoff revenue. It's the owners who are saying load management. Now, how do you solve this? Okay, you solve this simply by playing less games. You play 64 to 68 games. You don't play more than 3 games a week, and you don't play back-to-back nights. And for all the people say, well, what about the TV contracts? We don't need 1 game at 8 o'clock and at 10:30 every Thursday on TNT. Play 4 or 5 games. You're doing the fans a disservice when you go see Atlanta, Memphis, and you buy these tickets in advance months ago, and you take your kids and Ja Morant, and again, Trae Young's a bad example. He plays 70 to 74 games, but are sitting out. These owners are so greedy that they don't care about the fans anymore. Kawhi Leonard is stealing money, man. He's stolen money for 4 years. He has stolen money for 4 years. And if I'm a player on the Clippers, I'm like, screw you, dude. I'm getting banged around every night. I'm diving for the loose balls. And you're sitting on the bench after the night before you hit a game-winning shot, not because you're injured, because you have a thing and the ownership agrees. It starts with the owners. Look, I'm not paying you full salary unless you play 70 games or have a legitimate injury where you have to get surgery. Think about this. The NBA is the only organization where you get paid more money and you work less. If I go to a job, I go to ESPN, I know they're going to put me on and I'm going to work whenever they tell me on because I want to make more money. Kawhi Leonard is getting paid so much money and he works less than anyone in the NBA. It's disgusting. So the NBA has a problem. All right, that's the good. That's the bad. Now, we said this again. We always say this only in Florida, right? Florida has the stupidest criminals. Now, before you guys come at me and say, oh, don't talk politics. This is not politics. This is just, it's funny and it's sad all in one. Donald Trump has come out with trading cards. Trading cards. They're making him look like a superhero. This is what people think Donald Trump is. But this is who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump with these trading cards is catfishing the entire MAGA base. This is what Donald Trump is. He's appearing that this is him. Tough guy, lean, strong. Look at him. Look at him right here. Oh, look at all the muscles. This is Donald Trump. This is not Donald Trump. And I'll end with this. Everyone wants to, can you imagine if Hillary Clinton came out with trading cards and she had a supermodel body on her face right now? I mean, I see this all over. Donald Trump in the Rocky body. This is Donald Trump, people. This is Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump. He doesn't have a Rocky body. He's catfishing. If you think Donald Trump looks like this, either you have beer goggles on or you're living in a land of fantasy. Because this is him. And that's not photoshopped. This is. Okay. We're going to get George Lopez on in about 5 minutes. Exactly. It's so sad. It's so sad. Yeah, I agree. I'm tired of the load management. Again, the NBA has to do something. If someone needs surgery, okay. But this load management thing is a joke. Okay, let's go through this NFL real quick. We'll go through it in about 5 minutes. I am 129 after San Francisco winning on Thursday and 61 picking NFL games. 129 and 61 picking NFL games. All right, over the last 2 games, Tua is 28 for 61, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If you remember the last time these two teams played on September 25th, the Dolphins won 21-19. Josh Allen was 42 of 63, but did a terrible job at the end of the game in managing the clock. They couldn't even get a field goal off. Now, it's a snowstorm in Buffalo. So I don't expect either one of these guys, if you're doing DraftKings, you're doing fantasy football, Josh Allen may get you a ton of rushing yards, but I don't see them passing if the snow continues. But I'm taking the Bills here. Dolphins will still make the playoffs. We had them winning 11 games, but they're going to lose this game today. I have it in a low-scoring game because of the snow, 23-16. 4-8-1 Colts face the 10-3 the Vikings. The Vikings are going to win their division. But they haven't played well in the last 5 weeks. They've lost 2 games that they got destroyed by Dallas, and then they lost to Detroit. But Justin Jefferson is just the best wide receiver in the NFL. 99 catches, 1,500 yards. Vikings roll here, 30-20. Ravens 9-4 at the 5-8 Browns. I'm shocked the Ravens are 9-4, but it's better to win ugly than lose pretty. Deshaun Watson's playing much better in his second week for the Browns, but I'm just going to go with the Ravens here, even without Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry. How can I count this team out? They always find ways to win, and it's been so ugly. So I'm taking the Ravens here to win this game, and a late field goal. Justin Tucker does it again, 23-20. In a game nobody cares about, the 5-8 Falcons at the 4-9 Saints. Desmond Ritter's the starter. Marcus Mariota is no longer the quarterback, and can't blame the Falcons for doing this. They're out of the playoffs. Mariota, he won NFC Player of the Week. Every time he starts for a long period of time, he'll always have a great game and win the NFC Player of the Week. But overall consistency, he's just not that quarterback. He's a backup at best. I don't know how Dennis Allen is still a head coach in the NFL, the coach for the Saints. 12-37 record. 12-37 records. I don't get it at all. I don't. George, Trump doesn't have it. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. 12-1 Eagles at the 3-10 Bears. Bears fans, this is a game you should watch closely. But before we do that, I have a little treat for you here. For all you Bears fans.
Bobby Douglas recovered and threw to Dick Butkus for the singleton. And the 21-12.
Some old school stuff right there where Dick Butkus is catching an extra point on a botched snap. But Bears fans, this is what I want you to watch for today. Okay. Justin Fields should develop his game and be similar to Jalen to Hurts next year. Okay. Hurts right now, think about this. Jalen Hurts is completing 68% of his passes. He has 32 total touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to have 6,000 yards passing and 1,500 rushing yards in his first 30 games. He's the ultimate dual threat. This is what you want Justin Fields to become. But the problem is right now is that the Eagles and the 49ers have the most talented offense and talented group of guys in the NFL. So Jalen Hurts has a great running game, top 3 offensive line, and 2 legitimate wide receivers. Justin Fields doesn't have that. So also, Jalen Hurts, offensive coach, Justin Fields, defensive coach. This is going to be high scoring. I think the Eagles are going to just steamroll them 38-23. But watch Jalen Hurts play, Bears fans, because that's what you want to be. Okay, Zach Wilson is starting. Because they couldn't clear Mike White. They didn't clear him, the doctors. Mike White wanted to play. So it's going to – one of the things you want to watch for here is Sauce Gardner against St. Brown. St. Brown's a great wide receiver, a legitimate number 1, but Sauce Gardner is becoming Darrelle Revis with the Jets. They don't even throw to his side that much anymore. Dan Campbell, I know everyone thinks that I hate the Lions. I don't hate the Lions. I just don't think this guy's a great X and O coach. But they're going to win today. And I did have them winning 8 games on the year. They're going to win today because Zach Wilson's going to make a bad decision, fumble the ball, make a turnover. And I don't know what it says for the Jets when Mike White, when they were on the road in Minnesota, all the Jets offensive players had Team Mike White T-shirts made up. They don't like this guy. They may pull a Joe Smith and punch this guy in the jaw at halftime if they're struggling. We know Joe Flacco. For those of you who don't know, Geno Smith got punched because he owed a former Jet linebacker. He owed him $500, and Geno in a card game he lost. And Geno Smith said, "What are you going to do? I'm starting quarterback. You're not getting your money." And the guy punched him and broke his jaw. Yeah. So I like the Lions here. That's right. I'm picking the Lions to win in a defensive struggle to the fourth quarter. The Lions scored 2, maybe 10 or 14 points and win 24-14. Okay, these are 2 teams that are really not that good. Think about this. The Titans are 7-6 in a horrible division. That division with Houston, Jacksonville, the Colts, terrible. The Chargers are 7-6. Raiders are terrible. Broncos are terrible. Both of these coaches have underachieved. I know everyone wants to praise Mike Vrabel, but you're 7-6 in one of the worst divisions in football. I think Justin Herbert makes a late play here, and they kick a field goal, and they win 27-24. Derrick Henry should get over 120 yards, and Justin Herbert will throw for probably about 280 and 2 or 3 touchdowns. All right. The Cowboys, 10-3 at the 5-8 Jags. The Jags are coming off an impressive win, 36-22 over the Titans. But I want to mention this here. All week I'm going with Jacksonville, but then I realized something. They're a young team. And what does a young team do as my voice cracks like I'm 13 years old? what does a young team do? They don't play consistent week to week. And when they come off a victory, they don't play as well. I would love to take the Jacksonville Jaguars here, but I can't. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys 27-20, if for nothing else, a young team that just doesn't play consistent week to week. All right, Steelers. Think about this. The Steelers are 5-8. They've never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. Carolina Panthers, 5-8. My boy Sam Darnold, former USC quarterback, George, former New York Jet, they're 5-8. They're 5-8. They might win this division. They fired their coach. They got rid of Christian McCaffrey, the running back. They got rid of Robbie Anderson. And they may win the division. I like Carolina to win this game, and I like the fact that they're playing without their head coach, their starting quarterback at the beginning of the year, and McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson. And I like the fact that this team could possibly dethrone the Tampa Bay Bucks and win that division. So a slight upset here. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers here, 23-20, and Mike Tomlin has his first losing season. Not going to spend a minute on this game. Chiefs 10-3 at the 1-11 in Texans. Chiefs 10-3. Patrick Mahomes is not the MVP. Jalen Hurts is. They're going to roll here, 30-14. 30-14. Two quick games, and then we'll get George up here. 7-6 Patriots at the 5-8 Raiders. The Patriots keep hanging tough. The Patriots keeps hanging tough for a playoff spot. Bill Belichick is great against his former coordinators. We know that. I think he only has like 2 or 3 losses, and they've all came in the last couple of years. So I like the Patriots here to beat the Raiders. I like the Patriots here to beat the Raiders on the road. Mac Jones is starting to play better, 24-23. And finally, the Arizona Cardinals, what a disaster they've been. 4-9 at the 3-10 Broncos. The Broncos will not have Russell Wilson. Kyler Murray's not playing. So this game right now is a toss-up. But I'm going to say this. Cliff Kingsbury has a 27 winning percentage. 27% winning percentage second half of the year. I'm taking the Broncos to play hard and prove that they don't need Russell Wilson despite his $250 million coming to him. And finally, is there a better team in the AFC right now? Better team in the AFC right now than the Bengals. They face Tampa, who's trending downward. I'm taking Joe Burrow. I think they go to the if they stay healthy, I think the Bengals go back to the Super Bowl. I like the Bengals here, 30-23. 7-5-1 Giants at the 7-5-1 Commanders. Giants are a sinking ship. We know that Daniel Jones is not the player that they want to be their franchise quarterback. They're going to go after Jimmy G or someone else. I like the Commanders here to take a commanding, no pun intended, lead in the playoff race, 24-20. 24-20. And again, I am 129-61 picking NFL games. When we come back, George Lopez is going to join us talking LA sports. You're watching the full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
We are here shooting Remova's latest campaign. I'm happy to be a part of such a great brand, and looking forward to seeing what's in store. I just love the luggage. I love the quality of it. I love the style of it. It just feels fitting, to my travel. Travel has helped me grow as a person. I've been able to go all over the world and to see so many different walks of life, so many different regions in this world, so many different places, and experience so many different cultures and things of that nature. So, that's definitely made me become a better person myself, because just being able to see the world and appreciating, different cities, different countries, and what they bring to the table. I think I've been so successful playing on the road in my career is just a sense of calmness for me. I love the adversity and being able to go on someone else's floor where they're most comfortable at, and being able to, try to defeat them there.
Let's bring him on. George Lopez. George, thanks so much for joining the show. How are you today?
Hey, Monte, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing this morning?
You like those? Are you getting those trading cards for Christmas, George?
Well, are you serious? You kind of ruined my breakfast. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. You just killed it. You got to show that guy. I made a wrong comment. He thinks he has a six-pack. It's a keg, more like a
No,
powder keg.
it's beyond funny. All right, George, we're going to talk some NFL. We're going to get to NBA and all that stuff. But let's first start with your USC Trojans. Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy. George, I don't understand. Like, people are saying that this guy is the next Patrick Mahomes. I don't see that. He's obviously super talented, and Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. How can he improve next year?
Well, you can always improve next year, the following season, and I can see why some people do say that he's like Patrick Mahomes. Though I don't like comparing a college player to an NFL player, I do see some similarities in his ability to escape, extend plays. He does stuff. He's creative, how he's throwing passes when he's outside the pocket. So I do see that, but I don't want to put him up there in that comparison to Patrick Mahomes, because just because you're a great quarterback in college doesn't mean it's going to transcend to the NFL. We've seen way too many quarterbacks that dominated in college. Tebow, the idiot that used to do this.
Johnny Manziel.
Matt Leinart was a stud quarterback at USC. He didn't pan out in the NFL. Mark Sanchez had a good. I'm going with USC quarterback or Akili Smith, Jason, Tim Couch. I could, the list goes
Jameis
on
Winston,
and on.
Marcus Mariota.
Exactly. What I like about him is he's grounded. He stays humble. It's team first. Yeah, he puts up tremendous numbers, but he's team first. And
but George, you say he's humble, and I agree, but why is he writing FUCK Utah, FUCK UCLA on his? I mean, what is that, George? Grow up, come on.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, I actually have a sweatshirt that says FUCLA. It says Fukla. Okay, it doesn't actually say the word, but it's got the letter F in front of UCLA.
But George, you're not firing up the opposing team's defense by doing that.
Oh no, granted, I agree with you, and there's a little maturity that still has to come. I mean, he's still a young kid. He's 21, I believe, so he still has some growing up to do, and he'll get it. But it's college fun. They do it different. Would I personally write stuff like that on my hands? No, I wouldn't do that, because of my size, I get killed.
Well, and I will say this. What I do like is he brought his entire offensive line to New York. He paid for it. He's making tremendous amount of money for name, image, and likeness, and he's giving back to the guys who helped him become a great player. And obviously, my problem with Lincoln Riley, George, is the same thing in Oklahoma. He just doesn't know how to coach defense. I know he has coordinated, George. That defense was horrible this year.
Oh, yeah, the defense, when he came in, he focused on the offensive side of the ball and the transfer portal. He wanted to get the players. I mean, obviously, we started with we started with Caleb Williams. Then you get Addison Jordan coming from Pitt, the last year's Biletnikoff winner. You got Brendan Rice coming from Colorado. So he was getting those players. Now, look for him in the transfer portal. Look for him to start looking on the defensive side. Okay. And he's going to recruit offensively to get the kids from high school, but he's going to focus on the defensive side, on the transfer portal. At least that's what I think, because I do think Alex Grinch is a good defensive coordinator. They play pretty well towards the end. When you play your rivals like UCLA and Notre Dame, you throw those stats out the window, and Utah had their number both games this year. That's why I could actually say I wasn't mad that USC lost that game. It was disappointing, but the better team won.
Well, honestly, Caleb Williams was limping around a lot like Brian Leftwich did that one college game where they were literally carrying him in Jacksonville.
He popped that hamstring in the first quarter, and he still threw for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Personally, I would have taken him out. He was hurting SC's offense in the second and third quarter. I mean, he started to come alive in the fourth quarter, but the defense couldn't hold it. But I think it would have been better for Lincoln Riley to sit him.
George, I don't really care about the bowl games. I can't wait for a playoff system, just because I want to be able to see the 8th or 9th team compete. But George, USC should beat Tulane by 30 if everyone plays.
On paper, offensively, they're going to put up points. They're going to put up 40 points against Tulane. But you mentioned it already. Their defense is suspect. And it's not the college football playoffs. Are they going to be up for it? We saw Alabama a few years ago. They didn't make the BCS game. They got to the Sugar Bowl and got embarrassed. So
yeah, I mean, it really depends. Yeah, the mindset is totally different when you're not competing for a national championship. Definitely.
Agreed.
Half of these bowl games are who's going to stay motivated.
Yeah, and then they wonder, like, how many of the players are, well, I'm going to declare for the draft, so I'm not going to play. Even though I committed to your school, I played all season. I understand why players do that. I have an issue with it a little bit, but I get why they're doing it. They're preparing for their careers now in the NFL, and they don't want to risk an injury, and I understand that. And, you got to figure who's going to sit out in these bowl games.
Yeah, I mean, I was so mad at Bull. He played less than 10 games at Oregon, and then he declares for the draft. I'm like, there should be a rule. If you play less than 15 games in college basketball or less than 8 games as a freshman, you got to come back. There has to be some accountability for these kids. All right, speaking about accountability, this guy's going to be at Colorado. He had a press conference, and I love what he said. He said, listen, you guys want me to be the football coach at Jackson State, and you want me to make sure that, all the fire alarms are working and we have this for the kids. He goes, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm bigger than that. He goes, I've done everything I can football-wise at Jackson State. I play today. But he said, I want to be part of an organization that every kid on campus feels safe. They have the finances. He basically saying Jackson State doesn't have that. But what I don't like is he said that I had a conversation with God, and God told me to leave. First of all, God didn't tell you to leave, Dion. It was the $80 million that told you to leave.
Yeah, I remember the late, great Reggie White said the same thing. God told him to sign with the Packers. And I don't fault anyone's faith, or I don't question anyone's faith, but don't say God told me to leave Jackson State. Don't do that.
Right.
God, and I agree, it's about the money. I am surprised he went to Colorado. I thought he would have ended up in the SEC somewhere. So Colorado is a big surprise, and it's going to be Dion. Your name, your prime time, but welcome to the big world. Welcome with the big boys. You're not going to get
I don't think he would. I never thought he was going to go to the SEC for one reason. Dion wants to be the star. Remember, he got divorced because his wife was on reality TV, and he said, one of the things he said, he goes, I want to be the star in my own house. So Dion wants to be the star, and a perfect place to do it is in a Pac-12 school where the whole entire university is going to worship the ground that he walks on. The SEC, they won't do that. You lose 2 games, or let's say he goes to Auburn, they lose to Alabama, Dion would get crushed, and his ego can't handle that. He's a good coach. He's a great motivator. I think he's doing right by his kids and teaching them the right way to succeed, not just on the football field, but outside of life. But he wanted to go where he's the star. Make no mistake about it.
And I agree, that he does teach the kids right. And I'm still very impressed that he got the #1 prospect last year to go to Jackson State. But like you said right now, if he went to the SEC, he's going to get beat. What the hell does he think is going to happen in Colorado? He's going to go up against the likes of Utah. He's got USC and UCLA, Oregon. I mean, SC is going to be there one more season, and so is UCLA.
Right.
But he's going to face Oregon, Utah, Washington's still a good team. He's going to get embarrassed. Who's going to want to go to the Mile High City or wherever the Boulder, wherever the hell that damn school is? I don't really care. The only thing I cared about Colorado is Mork and Mindy. Mork from Mork was there.
But George, they did win a national champion with Eric Bieniemy, Cordell Stewart. I mean, Colorado has had a history of success. Andrea brings up a good point. She said, do you think Sanders bringing players with him takes away the spot of hardworking students? No, because Deion Sanders said in his first meeting with the team, and I quote, I'm bringing players with me. He goes, what you guys have done over the last decade is a disgrace to your family, to the good students here, to the faculty. He goes, transfer, get out. That's the first thing he told them. Hit that transfer portal.
He has no loyalty to the players that are currently there. He's going to do what's best for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffalo football program going forward. I remember Jimmy Johnson's first year of the Cowboys. He was talking to the players in training camp. He goes, "We're going to win Super Bowls, and a lot of you guys aren't going to be here for it.
Yeah,
We're moving on."
Yeah.
And he's got to do what's best, not only for him, but what's best for the Colorado Buffaloes football program. And if that means getting rid of current players, so be it.
Listen, they're not going to be better than Oregon. They're not going to be better than USC. Utah always wins. The coach of Washington has done a tremendous job. So the Pac-12, I wrote an article about it. There's a lot of good teams. And don't forget about Oregon State, who all of a sudden is a legitimate, I think going into week 10, there were five top 20 Pac-12 schools in football.
Well, you got to remember, Oregon State basically ended, Oregon's playoff chances this year in that last rivalry game. I still can't believe Oregon lost that game when Oregon State didn't throw a damn pass in the second half. I still haven't figured that one out.
Do we got to bring this up? You see my Oregon gear here. Do we got to bring this up?
We got to bring it up. We got to bring it up. I mean, I'm going to cover the Oregon game against North Carolina in a couple weeks at the Holiday Bowl. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around how did Oregon blow a 31-10 lead. I still can't get my head around that one. George,
the big thing with covering those games, I know you asked me, take a lot of pictures, tweet nonstop. Yeah, 14-7. And don't just tweet like the score. Hey, touchdown pass here. So your followers can see, wow, this guy's at the game. You could tag me in it. Obviously, it's Oregon. I'll retweet it. Just be as active as you can with pictures and tweets. It should be a great time. So happy for you to be covering that game. All right, let's move to LA sports, George. I think there's a new sheriff in town. I hate to say this, but you always talked about the Padres like you talk about the Clippers, which is the little brother. But they beat the Dodgers this year. They have went out and spent so much money. First of all, talk about what the Dodgers, for those fans who don't know what they've done this offseason, what they didn't do, what players have left. What's going on with the Dodgers? Because every time I wake up, the Padres are signing more players and spending more money. And don't forget, they get the best player back in Tatis this year.
Okay, first off, Dodger fans, I'm going to go a little Aaron Rodgers here. Relax. They haven't done anything in the offseason so far. Everyone was expecting this huge announcement during the winter meetings. Dodger fans, when did they get Mookie Betts? Spring training, February. When did they get Freddie Freeman? Right after the lockout, which I believe was March.
George, did you think they were actively involved with Aaron Judge or no way?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the Dodgers are going to be linked to every big-name free agent out there because they have the money to spend. I don't think they were actively pursuing him. They may have inquired what would it take, but they weren't going to give him the contract that he got with the Yankees. There's no way. It just wasn't going to happen. Aaron Judge had a hell of a season. 30 years old, and that was the first year he was pretty much healthy the entire year. Dodgers don't do that. They're not going to give long-term contract. I mean, outside of Mookie Betts, they're not going to give someone 9-10 years. That's just not going to happen. And the reason I'm thinking they didn't really go big in free agency right now, they're trying to stay under the luxury tax. They still don't know what's going to happen with that moron Trevor Bauer because he may be coming back, or they may reduce his suspension. And if they do, the Dodgers just going to cut him and take the loss. But they're trying to stay under the luxury tax now because I believe they're going to make a serious run for Shohei Ohtani next year in free agency because I don't see him re-signing with the Angels.
Okay, now I'm going to say this, and people may take this as a negative, but George, it's not a negative. Okay, I grew up watching the Atlanta Braves dominate that Mets division for 15 years. And they only won one World Series with look how young Glavine, Maddox, and Smoltz were here. I mean, this is just a crazy, crazy pitching staff. But George, one World Series since 1988. You won it a few years ago. Is it? I mean, do Dodger fans go in with the mentality? I say this all the time about Dallas Cowboy fans and the Fighting Irish from Notre Dame fans. You guys are not realistic. The Cowboys haven't won since Troy Aikman. Notre Dame hasn't won since, I think, 1988. So is it – I mean, again, and it's not – there's nothing wrong with making the playoffs every year, which the Dodgers have done, for a decade?
10 years, 10 straight years. Yeah, there is something wrong if you don't win. And I've been saying this for a number of years now. They're turning into this version of the 90s Atlanta Braves. Winning all these divisions, getting to the playoffs is nice, but if you're not lifting the commissioner's trophy at the end of the year, it's disappointing. It's not a great year. It's a good year. I've always said it on your show. Only one team has a great year every season, and that's the team that wins it all.
Well, I mean, I get stuff on TikTok all the time. I get attacked because I'll post Mets stuff, and I'm like, hey, we had a good year. We won 101 games. The Mets didn't choke. The Atlanta Braves had one of the greatest second halves ever. The Mets, I think, were 4th or 5th in their record the second half of the year. But there's nothing wrong, George, with making the playoffs every year. But again, 2 World Series since 1988. You're saying that's not good enough.
No, it's not. And like you say, I'm an LA fan and I'm spoiled. I expect certain things from the LA teams. You win 111 games, you damn well better get to the World Series. You don't get bounced in your first round of the playoffs and only win 1 game and didn't look good at all. Credit to the Padres. They won that series. Dodgers didn't blow it. Even though they screwed up that last game, I think Dave Roberts made some mistakes again.
Well, George, that's my next point. A lot of people are saying maybe it's time for him to go. How can you get rid of a guy who's made the playoffs and won a world? He delivered, right? He won a World Series. So how do you get rid of this guy?
The Dodgers, well, when the O'Malleys owned the Dodgers, they had a tradition. You don't fire your manager like that. I mean, Tommy Lasorda was there 20 years, and before that was Walter Alston for 20 years.
Tommy Lasorda was there 3 or 4 years, way past when he should have been.
Agreed. He should have stepped away. But he's the greatest ambassador. I still think he's going to be the greatest ambassador to baseball. Rest in peace. But Dave Roberts follows what Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers front office likes to do. I'm not a fan of analytics. I can't stand it, but they do that, and Roberts goes along with it. And you're not going to get a big name manager here that's going to be willing to do that. Like let's get Bruce Bochy. Bochy's got his own style, and I don't think it would fit in with what Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers front office likes to do. Dave Roberts will do that. Now, the 1 year where he actually coached from his gut was in 2020 in the playoffs. Because there's 2018, 2017, same situation. Kenley Jansen's on the hill on game 6 to close it out, not Julio Urias. He went with a hot hand. And last year, he screwed up.
And I agree with that. For example, if, let's say, Francisco Lindor in the 9th inning is 1 for 31 against a relief pitcher, that's the time when the analytics says, hey, you know what? We have a better percentage of this pinch hitter who has 5 hits out of 10. So you can use it sometimes to be effective, but it's not the end all. So I will ask you this, and I know this sounds crazy. If the Padres go and win their division or the Dodgers don't get back to the World Series, is Dave Roberts gone?
No, I don't think so. He'll play out.
But he drives you crazy at times, right?
Oh yeah, he does. He does. He drives me crazy more so in the playoffs. I mean, you win 111 games in a 162 game season. You're not really too upset, but I'll be honest. I kind of saw it coming at the end of the year. They weren't hitting. I go, what? They're going into a slump at the wrong time. So in that sense, you can't fault Roberts where they didn't hit. They're predictable. And the Padres came out afterwards. We reverse pitched them. We know what their tendencies are. We know what they like. We did the opposite, and they were looking at pitches right down the pipe. They weren't swinging the bat. Mookie Betts had a bad series.
I thought Dave Roberts got thoroughly outcoached against the Padres.
He did. I think the biggest mistake that I'm still really having a hard time with is Game 4 when he pulled Tyler Anderson. Anderson was dealing that guy. You let him go at least one more. And then you bring in a guy who's only pitched a handful of season. No, you don't bring him in. You bring in Gratterall in that 7th inning. And it was just some mistakes that were made, and it cost them. But honestly, had they won, I think Philly would have beat him in 5 in the NLCS.
Yeah. The Dodgers maybe peaked too early. And one thing I will say about, again, I'm not mocking what the Atlanta Braves. I wish my Mets had 15 seasons of winning the division, or 13 out of 15, whatever the hell it was. And I'm of the belief, and what I struggled with this year is speaking about analytics and going the other way. Buck Showalter, I mean, he overplayed his guys. The Mets had at one point in 30 days, the Mets were playing like 34 games because they had double headers. And he kept playing Pete Alonso. He kept playing Jeff McNeil. He kept playing Francisco Lindor. And when the postseason came around, it was kind of like the Knicks with Pat Riley or the Knicks via Miami before Shaq got there, when they'd win 62 games. And in the first, second round of the playoffs, they have no third or fourth gear because Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning were exhausted. The Mets were exhausted. And this is one of the reasons why Buck Showalter always wins during the regular season and has never been to a World Series. His team is shot at playoff time.
And I already know there's going to be some people, my age, like, well, back in the day, these guys played all year round. They didn't take days off. They played the whole season, no time off. There was a difference. Players were allowed to take certain supplements, in the dog days of summer that they're no longer allowed to take. And that kind of got them through like, July and August, where they were still keeping their energy. And players today don't do it. And then, you got to remember, a lot of these guys, a lot of these young players, they're doing stuff that I didn't do or maybe you didn't do growing up. They're playing year round.
Yeah.
Their body's not resting. So they are going to get tired a lot quicker than guys, say, like when, Mike Schmidt played or Pete Rose played. They had the off season. It was the off season. So they were allowing their bodies to rest. And you're not seeing that today.
Well, one of the things that I really don't like, I don't like Luka Doncic going overseas and playing in his country's league. I don't like Giannis doing that. I don't like any of these players doing that. But, we're going to have the World Series Baseball Classic coming up, the World Baseball Classic coming up. So you're right. But, and also, George, one of the things people don't realize is back in the day, you would face one pitcher through 7-8 innings and then maybe one other pitcher. Now you're facing 4 or 5 pitchers. The games are they're trying to speed up the game, but there's more runs. There's just an article now that they use a special baseball in Yankee Stadium, and it's easier to hit that ball. So there's a lot going on and again, a lot of this has to do with not so much, and people don't complain on a Sunday when a Derek Jeter used to sit out, right? Or
I would.
Or if Francisco Lindor has played, I was begging them to sit Lindor. I'm like, sit him. 162 games, George. 82 games in the end. It's just too much. It's too many games.
It is. And this is one thing I'll give Dave Roberts credit for. During the season, he knows when to rest his players. His issue is making the right pitching change. But the everyday players, first, second, third, and he knows, okay, I'm going to give my guys rest. He knows when to do it. So the players are pretty well rested for the season. It's just his problem is making a questionable pitching change when he shouldn't or when he should.
So he's in no jeopardy, right?
No, I don't think so. He just signed a 3-year extension. I do believe, worst case, he will manage the Dodgers for those the next 2 seasons, and then they'll go forward from there. But I don't see him being in any danger unless they somehow fall down to the Rockies level. They play under 500,
which they won't. Yeah. They won't.
Anything can happen. Injuries can happen. People could go in bad slumps. Anything is possible. I don't see it, but I still see this team, even though they didn't get the big name player maybe Dodger fans wanted. There's still going to be a minimum 95 win season. And one of the things that they haven't done yet, and I know they're in the mix, but I don't expect it. I know people are still looking. Are they going to sign Dansby Swanson? I don't see it happening. As much as I would love to have him here with the Dodgers, I just don't see them spending the money on him. I think they're going to go ahead and move Gavin Lux over to short. They brought him in as a shortstop, so he knows the position, and then they can move Chris Taylor to second base. They do have different options at second base.
Okay, we're talking with George Lopez, the Team NBS sports writer. George, we're going to talk about the Rams for a minute, but again, I went on this whole rant about load management, and this is the owner's fault. I want you to watch this, and this is the owner's fault. This is a tackle and a sack, and they called roughing the passer. Watch.
Whether he's going to work around you, he's a technician, works with the hands. This time it's power, and I think it's the way he finished the play. Know that Bosa, whether he's going to work around you, he's a technician, works with the hands. This time it's power, and I think it's the way he finished.
I mean, what do we do here? Or is it just going to be two? And this is the owners. All this started because Tom Brady got injured from a low hit back in the day, and he was out for the year, and the NFL lost their minds. That's a tackle. I am all for player safety. I'm all for if a helmet to helmet. I don't want to see Dick Butkus or even back in the day with Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White slamming guys to the turf. But that's a tackle, George. That's a sack. How is that roughing the passer?
It's not. I mean, I don't know what's worse, looking at those idiot playing cards you showed earlier, or seeing that. It's gonna make me, I'm gonna toss my breakfast and haven't even eaten yet. It's pathetic. I mean, we grew up, and I know, and I'm all for player safety as well. But I grew up watching the likes of Lawrence Taylor, Jack Lambert, Ronnie Lott. I hated the 49ers, but I loved watching him play. I still remember the hit he did on Ickey Woods in the Super Bowl.
Listen, they would be afraid to go over the middle to face Ronnie Lott.
Yeah.
Wide receivers would be like, I'm not running that pattern.
Or who can remember the hit Steve Atwater did on Christian Okoye?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That would be a flag today. It was a clean hit. I mean, I get it. The players are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. I understand that. But it's a contact sport. It happens. And there's no way in hell that was roughing the passer. I mean, what are you going to do? You just have to tap him on you can't even tap him on the shoe. They're going to say that's a low hit.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch it. It's going to turn into two-hand touch.
I mean, speaking of, Ronnie Lott and just, I grew up watching those guys. I put the Ronnie Lott thing here. I grew up watching those guys, and listen, there were certain guys that you just didn't want to face, right? You go in, no one wanted to face the Carl Banks, Lawrence Taylor linebacking core. You didn't want to face Reggie White. You didn't want to face the 85 Bears because those teams would beat the hell out of you. And you bring up a great point about those San Francisco 49er team. Everyone talks about their offense, but their defense had some Hall of Fame players that, was overlooked because of Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Reggie White, Jonathan Taylor. But I just, we want to play football. You want to watch, but fans are getting, and it's, again, people are saying it's the players. It's not the players. It's the owners who are coming up with these rules and saying we need to protect our investment. Well, you know what? Don't give a guy $450 million.
Exactly. I mean, I still think back, and I'm just going to say two names. I know you're going to remember this. Wilbur Marshall, Joe Ferguson.
Yeah.
Marshall would be suspended today. And that was, I thought he killed him when he hit him. And it was a clean hit. It was clean. But I was like, good Lord, when he hit him. But can you imagine today, everyone would be going bananas. I want to say something else, but out of respect for the people listening, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say it. Marshall would be suspended for at least half the season for that hit. George,
my friend Bill just texted me. What is that Red Hawks jersey?
Oh, that is my son Christian's travel ball team. I wanted to, they just played in a charity tournament last week for out here at the City of Hope Cancer Hospital. They were invited to play in a tournament last week, so I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. And
very nice. Very nice.
So that's one of the jerseys I bought to wear to support them when they play. So they got one more tournament in January in Arizona. They're going to be playing the Martin Luther King tournament. Right now it's scheduled for Camelback Ranch, but we'll see if they change the location. But it will be at a major league spring training location in January, and then they'll shut down until after the high school season.
I thought it was. I thought you were paying homage to the Atlanta Hawks, my team. All right, let's move to the NBA. Yeah. I said this. The Lakers beat the Denver Nuggets last night. Again, Anthony Davis tweaked his ankle, but we're starting to see this team. It's taken a while, but they're starting to become an extension of Darvin Ham. Right? They're starting to become that. And Russell Westbrook, for whatever you want to say about him, he has embraced the role. He has not complained publicly. There was a story coming out that Jeannie Buss has some sort of weird connection with Russell Westbrook. I don't know if they're best friends. I don't know if she's I don't know what the relationship is, but she doesn't want him traded. George, if the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, you got to trade this guy. Yeah, I'm talking about Westbrook.
Oh, I agree. The latest rumor I'm hearing is he may be going back to Washington, and they're looking to reacquire Kyle Kuzma, who they never should have traded.
No,
there's three players that have bothered me that the Lakers have traded. Kuzma was one, Julius Randle, and Ingram. I never thought they should have traded either of them.
Can I jump in here and say who they never should have traded because it wouldn't have cost them anything? Zubac for the Clippers. That guy is such a skilled big, and the Clippers don't even use him right. He'll score 30 points and grab 18 rebounds, and then he'll play 10 minutes the next game. Zubac was going to be a restricted free agent. It wasn't going to cost him any money. They gave him away to the Clippers. They gave him away.
Yeah, there's, you got to question some of the things that the Lakers have done post Dr. Buss and Jerry West, or Mitch Kupchak, actually. Mitch Kupchak did make some good deals for the Lakers. This quote unquote GM the Lakers have, he should go back to being an agent. I think maybe he's better that way. Get his clients money. I don't like some of the moves he's made, but yeah, and I agree. I think honestly, when LeBron got hurt and missed a few games, that really helped the Lakers.
Yeah,
the rest of the players started getting it, finding their spot, finding their role. Westbrook accepting coming in with the second team was huge.
We've been talking about that for years. I mentioned that on my podcast.
Yeah, we talked about
on my podcast.
He's got to come. He's better suited coming off the bench. And since that happened, since LeBron got hurt, and like you said, AD went on that tear where he was just dominating in the league. Now we're starting to see what people were envisioning in the beginning of the year. I do wish they would play better defense, though. I do wish that.
Well, and you bring up something that I wanted to talk about. They played Boston, who's probably top 3 team in the entire league. They went to overtime. No one could stop Tatum. Listen, LeBron can guard a guy for a couple of series. He can't do it every night. And I just want to talk about the way this roster has been constructed. Patrick Beverley is not Patrick Beverley. He statistically, he is the worst point guard in the NBA of anyone starting. He's horrible. He can't defend. He can't shoot. He does nothing.
Now his name is now Beverly D'Angelo for me. So
Dennis Schroeder, had an $84 million contract on the table that the Lakers offered him. He turned it down. I think he made $10 million, $12 million, and now he's been horrible. He's averaging like 6 points, 4 assists. The only one is that's doing. I like Reeves, and I like Lonnie Walker from the Spurs.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of Lonnie Walker's.
This roster is so talentless, for lack of a better word.
Agreed. This team, for them to succeed, they're going to have to play total team basketball. This isn't the Lakers that we grew up. This isn't the the Magic worthy Kareem Lakers or the Shaq and Kobe Lakers or Kobe and Pau Gasol. This team, you do have probably one of the greatest of all time in LeBron James, and you do have a good player in Anthony Davis, but this team is going to succeed based on their complementary players, how they perform. Back in the 80s in the Showtime era, the other players, Scott and Cooper, didn't have to put up big numbers because they knew Kareem, Magic, and Worthy they're going to account for like 80 points in the game. Now, if you get LeBron and AD scoring 80 points between them, Lakers are going to lose.
Yeah.
Bottom line, Lakers are going to lose. Everyone else has got to step up. That's why I was like, I'm a big fan of Lonnie Walker, a huge fan. I love watching Reeves play.
Yeah.
The way they contribute, if they could keep doing that all season, and now they're starting to hit 3-pointers a little bit better. Their percentage is going up, though I'm not a huge fan of jacking up 30, 40 3-pointers in a game. But I know that's today's NBA. But if they can start hitting 35, 40%, which they're starting to get close to that number, it opens things up inside for Anthony Davis and the other bigs.
Well, Kuzma just came out and they said he's not going to sign this offseason in Washington. He got off the plane and he tweeted, nothing like LA air. And then Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young tweeted tampering. So, I think getting Kuzma back would be great. He's not the player he was when he left. He's much better. No. The Washington are terrible right now. They started off good, but they have a great 3 in Bradley Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis has found a home. But if you get Kuzma back, that's a pretty decent big 3.
It is, and part of the rumor that I've heard with this is Porzingis would be somehow included in the mix. I don't know how it would work, but that's the latest rumor that I've heard. If they go after Kuzma, they look for Porzingis to come to LA. Who knows? They may include him in the trade and just buy him out, because that's what I'm hearing a lot of teams would do with Westbrook. They would trade for him and then just buy him out and let him be free to sign with somebody else.
Wow, it's very interesting. Okay, so let's say the Lakers make a deal. You look at this Western Conference. I said on my podcast, right now the best big three out west is in Portland with Simmons, Damian Lillard, and Jeremy Grant is averaging 22 a game. He's the most underrated power forward I've ever seen. Shoots 47% from three. And then you look at the healthy New Orleans team with Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Zion Williams. I know people can't stand Zion Williamson for some reason, but he's 25-7, shooting 60%. Only Giannis has more points in the paint than him. That's the best big three in the West. But if you add Kuzma, that's pretty damn good.
Oh, it would be. And if they get Kuzma, then I think Andrea would be buying me a Laker jacket instead of me buying her a Clipper one.
So you're not buying the Clippers at all.
Oh, no. No, I've gotten to the point when the season started, I was ready to concede by January to Andrea. I was going to figure out what jacket to get her and get it to her. But now I'm holding off. But I'm still, right now, if the polls came in, I'd probably be at 42% of the vote. And Andrea
I don't like
57 points. So she'd be.
I don't see how you could ever develop chemistry with a team when your best player is sitting out 2 games out of the 4 you play per week.
Well,
all right,
he's got to read a script for the commercials he's filming or the movies he wants to do.
It's beyond.
We through Raphael, our friend Raphael.
Yeah,
he's got a friend named Angel. I don't know if you know Angel out of San Antonio, and he was a huge Kawhi fan. But when he left, the name changed to Kawhi Leonard.
And again, I don't know how Tyronn Lue is supposed to be like a Nona. He's got into it with LeBron. I don't know how Tyronn Lue could sit there and coach this guy and have anything. I would be like, look, either you're in or you're out, dude. This half-ass play one game, hit a game-winning shot, then sit for 2 other games. What the hell are we doing here?
I agree. You know why he didn't go to Miami? Because Pat Riley would not put up.
Pat Riley would not put up with that.
No, never.
No. By the way, Pat Riley's in trouble. That team is awful. They have one scorer in Jimmy Butler, and I said this, and people were like, "Oh, but Tyler Hero's a good player." Are you taking Tyler Hero over Chris Middleton in a game 5? I'm talking about number 2 options here. Are you taking Tyler Hero over Kyrie Irving in a game 5? Say whatever you want about Kyrie Irving, the guy's going to produce. Are you taking look at any number 2? Are you taking Tyler Hero over those guys? Absolutely not.
No. The game hasn't passed Pat Riley by, but I think he held on to this roster maybe a year or 2 years too long.
Yeah, and listen, he's 77 years old, so he wants to rebuild quickly. He's not going for a 5-year rebuild. All right, George, give us we have about 5 minutes left talking with George Lopez here, Team NBS media writer. Give us your Final 4 in the NBA.
The NBA, I think coming out of the East, you got to say it's going to be Boston and Milwaukee if they stay healthy. And that will be one hell of a conference final.
The problem with Milwaukee, with Boston, is they have no bigs. They can't protect the rim. They're 28th in rebounding. Al Horford's a nice player. Williams can never stay healthy. George, they need to get some size. I've been saying it since the beginning of the year. Go after Marvin Bagley Jr. from Detroit, who's a 6'11" big who can shoot the 3 block shots and get your rebounds.
Oh, I agree. They do need size, especially come playoff time. Because rebounding, Riley used to say, Pat Riley, rebounds,
no rebounds, no rings.
No rings, exactly. But they find a way. They do find a way come playoff time. And like I said, I have no love for Boston. I'll respect players from Boston, but I have no love for them. I'll never root for them in a series. I hope they get swept when they play Milwaukee in the conference finals. But I do think that is going to be the series to look at come playoff time. I do think it's going to be between those two. The West, I think it's wide open. Whoever gets hot at the end of the season has a good look at it. Golden State, I know Curry's going to be out for a while with that shoulder injury. The Lakers, we just don't know. I mean, Portland, they're playing good right now, but will they carry it into the playoffs?
I don't think Portland has enough depth.
No.
They have, but I just did my Western Conference. If you guys want to, after the show, go to the Full Monty Sports Show podcast. I just did my Western Conference pre-holiday preview. You look at the Western Conference, right? Over the last 20 years, it's been what? San Antonio, Lakers, Golden State. Dallas won 1. Okay, Dallas is struggling right now. The Golden State, I think they're going to trade Klay Thompson. I really do. he's become a jump shooter and he's shooting 40%. He's not a two-way player anymore.
No.
So I look at teams like Memphis, Portland, maybe Dallas again, and let's not forget about the Pelicans, right? So it might be a new team in the West.
Oh, it might be, but I just think youth is going to get to the Pelicans. I didn't buy the hype with Zion coming out of college. I just wasn't buying it.
Yeah, because he's from Duke. I get it.
It hasn't. Well, that had something to do with it. But I'd like some players coming out of Duke. I'm trying to think who. Kind of like Grant Hill until they went to Detroit, but that's about it. But I just didn't buy the hype. But he's starting to grow up. And I had to sit back and realize he was 19 when he
19.
came in. Yeah. He had to grow up, and he's starting to show that. But I would take Memphis over the Pelicans right now in a series.
The problem I have with Memphis is that Ja Morant doesn't realize that he's not 6'8", 250. He wants to dunk over people. He wants to jump over you. He wants to get hit in the paint. And if Luka gets worn down at 6'9", 240, Ja Morant is 180 pounds. I like my point guards like Steph Curry, like Trae Young, floaters, jump shots. Ja Morant, if he dunks on someone in the playoffs, he's going to hit. He got injured last year. He's going to get hit 5 or 6 times. He plays too physical for his frame.
Agreed. Sometimes your eyes are bigger than you just heard that saying. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. I don't want to call it little man complex, but he's bigger than he thinks. He's smaller than he thinks he is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get that.
And that worries me. That worries me. In a 7-game series, and you're going up, and in game 2 you're dunking. Game 3 you're going to get hit.
Exactly. And speaking of Luka, he's got to get out of Dallas. They got to get him out of there. They're wasting him away.
Christian Wood had 31 points last night and played a great game. And he's starting Powell and playing Maxi Kleber at the center position. You have what's his name? The guy who was on the Lakers, the long guy. What the hell's his name? Backup center. What's his name? Played with Washington, played with Golden State. Someone in the chat, give me his name. Anyway,
I was about to say Chuck Nevin. I know it wasn't Chuck Nevin.
But what I'm saying is they have no rim protectors. None.
No.
And he doesn't play. Christian Wood was playing 22 minutes a game. Now he's up to 24 minutes. Then he's up to 26. What is he doing? Like Jason Kidd, you're playing these scrubs instead of Christian Wood.
Now, where do they have Luka playing? Do they have him at the 4?
Well, no, he's still doing predominantly point guard stuff, but they do have him posting up a little bit more.
I would have him at the 3. Let him on the wing as a small. I think he would dominate at the 3. I would.
JaVale McGee. I'm talking about JaVale McGee.
Okay, McGee, yeah.
When McGee plays 25, 30 minutes, he gets you 10 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. They have no – Luka's got – if I'm Luka Doncic, I say to myself, you look around the league, you're like, man, I got to score 35, 9, and 9 every night. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I think the only reason he doesn't really complain that much is the tax breaks he gets in Texas.
Oh, yeah, that's good. All right, so let's move finally to the Rams. George, they are going to be the first team since the 1999 Denver Broncos, where they had John Elway retired, Terrell Davis got his knee injured, and their quarterbacks were Bubby Brister and Brian Griese, to lose double digits after winning the Super Bowl. Now, look, they won a Super Bowl. They made a bunch of trades. They signed a bunch of guys. But, George, how did it go bad so quickly?
How much time do we have? When we did the beginning of the year, you asked me, do the Rams have a chance to repeat? My first thing was, if they stay healthy. Injuries is never an excuse. People get hurt. It happens. But the biggest problem that I've seen with the Rams this year, in 13 games, they've had 13 different starting combinations on the offensive line.
That's terrible.
No consistency. I mean, they've given up. I mean, everyone talks about Baker Mayfield. He had a good drive.
How hard is it to root for this guy?
I've never disliked Baker Mayfield, so
really? Okay.
No, I've never had an issue with him. So I mean, he had a good drive to beat the Raiders, but he was still sacked 4 times. The Rams have given up a ton of sacks this year. They can't pass protect. So they, the front office made some mistakes. Okay, Whitworth retiring was a huge blow. Boom getting hurt was bad. letting Corbett go was a mistake. Letting him go because Bobby Evans sucks. I'm going to say it right out. He sucks as an offensive guard. I hate the fact that he's playing. They get stunted on so many times. And I wrote this up in my preview for the Packer game for Monday night. Look for the Packers to run a lot of stunts. Even though the Packers have only got 24 sacks all season, they'll get at least 3 on Monday night. The Rams cannot pass protect. There's no communication. I mean, Brian Allen has been out most of the year. They shut down Edwards, their left guard. So the only consistent player they've had is their right tackle, Havenstein. You can't win if you don't have an offensive line. The running game was pretty much non-existent in the beginning of the year. It's starting to come around. With Cam Akers, his little sabbatical with the Rams, since he's been back, he's been looking a lot better, running with more conviction, and he's looking like the Akers from his rookie year. But if they can't pass protect, they're in trouble. Teams took away the deep throw. They don't. Allen Robinson just didn't pan out before he got injured. It just didn't click with him at Stafford.
I was so disappointed. My friend were like, "How do you let this guy go? Who catches 100 yards? He's gonna thrive with McVay and Stafford. He's been a bust."
Yeah, it didn't work out. Don't be surprised if they release him. It's going to be depending on what the salary cap it's going to be, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's gone. There's just a whole lot of issues. Their defense isn't as good as it was last year. They're making way too many mistakes. How many games have they lost in the last minute? They're not getting pressure. I mean, they just cut Terrell Lewis. They cut Justin Hollins, who was supposed to be the other side edge rushers to try to replace Von Miller. Lewis, he was a first-round talent coming out of Alabama, and the Rams got him in the 3rd round because of injuries. There was concerns. He just never lived up to his potential, and the Rams said, we got to give him a shot. Let's waive him now. Let him pick up with another team. Maybe he'll get going. Because they were pretty much, he was going to be inactive Monday night. So they just said, it's time to let him go.
So, George, here's my issue. You're not a homer. You call it as you see it.
Yeah.
I had to read the article 3 times. And to quote Tom Cruise from Rain Man, can you repeat that? I can't believe my effing ears. I can't believe my effing eyes. You have the Rams winning 21-17 against my Packers. Why?
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is throwing for 220 yards a game. What the hell is that? Aaron Rodgers, probably one of the 2 greatest quarterbacks in his generation, 220 yards a game. Their leading receiver is a running back, Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
That's the leading receiver.
Yeah.
The Packers, I don't know.
But the Packers aren't as bad. I'm surprised you're picking the Rams.
Well, you've seen me for the most part. I've been picking against the Rams lately.
Yes, I know.
I just think it's
George. I read every one of your articles, bro. I read every one of your articles,
and I really appreciate that. I just think it's going to be Cam Akers. The Packers give up 154 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah, they can't stop the run.
They can't, and I just think Akers, if he doesn't get it, he's going to get close to getting to 100 yards for the first time this season.
Wow.
Monday night.
I'm
That's
shocked
the reason why I took the Rams. If it was a team with a run defense, I would have picked the other team.
Okay. Do the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels? His career record is atrocious. That team should not be as bad as they are. What are they doing? I mean, I watched them play, and you figure with Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, it's like 1 week they're world beaters. There's no consistency. They have no identity. Are they a great running team? Are they a great passing team? I just posted something where Derek Carr has the lowest completion percentage inside the red zone. How is that possible with Devontae Adams?
You got me. Like that message you just popped. The Rams are playing like the Raiders. That's my brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the.
So he's a Raider fan?
Oh, he's a huge Raider fan.
Right. Is he miserable?
Yeah, he doesn't get into it quite like I do with my teams, but yeah, he's miserable. I think he would be, honestly, I think he would be happy if Derek Carr was gone. I
wouldn't be surprised if the Jets go after him, if the Giants go after him, the Jets and Giants go after Jimmy G, although who knows how healthy Jimmy G, he's always getting injured.
I thought when they got McDaniels that he learned his lesson from Denver, being a head coach there. I go, Hunter Renfrow is going to have a hell of a season. he never really used him before he got hurt.
Right.
Waller being hurt, that was a bad break for the Raiders. This team, to me, they're good when Josh Jacobs is running the ball.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this right now, and I don't know my brother's going to get pissed about this. He's a free agent. The Raiders didn't pick up his 5th year. I'm hoping to God the Rams find some kind of cap space.
It's
get him here with the Rams.
It's a very interesting thing because, George, you don't pay running backs. We don't pay running backs in the NFL.
Not anymore.
And, I think what do you have, over 300 yards in one game, all-purpose yards in that overtime win that they had against Seattle. And again, they signed Devontae Adams. They got Crosby. Someone said, I think it was Brad Ward, said, on paper, the Raiders have all the position. You have a pass rusher, you have a wide receiver, a running back, but you're not winning in the trenches where it matters.
They're not. And there's some I stepping back, as I don't hate the Raiders. I'll root for them as long as they're not playing the Rams. I think McDaniels, and we've said this before, there are some guys that are just better suited as a coordinator than a head coach. And Josh McDaniels.
Todd Bowles, look what he's done at Tampa.
McDaniels, I think, fits into that category. I don't know if Mark Davis will fire him after 1 year. He may give him the benefit of the doubt.
He already said he was going to.
I think the Raiders would be better suited to look elsewhere. Get rid of him. He just isn't panning out. I don't say the players quit on him because they are still trying.
They are trying. And that's leadership with Derek Carr and Crosby. They don't let guys they work their ass off in practice.
Oh, they do. And, even Jacobs ran for 99 yards against the Rams. They had a field. I think they had 38 carries, if I'm not mistaken, 171 yards on the ground. But I don't know. I can't put my finger on Derek Carr. I think,
I don't like him. I don't like him.
I'm a fan. I think he's a lot better than his brother. And I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needs to leave the Raiders. Maybe he needs a new scenery. And that helps a lot of people. Go somewhere else, recharge. I think that's what he needs to do. And Andre, his job is not in jeopardy.
He's going to be there for at least until he wants to leave.
He's going to be there as long as he wants to. There's a story out here that when the core players that he has now walk away, you might see him leave then. He's got interest to get in the booth.
I would love to see him coach my boy Justin Herbert. I would love to see that. All right, George.
We could trade for him and bring him to the Rams.
No. All right, George. Two more quick questions. One, who's your final four in the NFL? I'm going to go with the 49ers and the Eagles winning it. And I'm going with Kansas City and the Bengals to beat them again. That would be the 4th straight for Joe Burrow. I have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl over the Bengals.
Okay, I actually agree with you. I have the 49ers, as much as it kills me. I have them in Philadelphia going, and I do have Cincinnati. They got hot at the right time. In the beginning of the year, I had Buffalo.
I've never been on the Buffalo bandwagon.
And I'm watching them play now, and I'm watching Cincinnati, and there's just and I've been watching Joe Burrow play last year. I became a fan. He's this generation's Joe Cool. They're getting hot at the right time. I got Cincinnati, and you just can't sleep on Kansas City, but I think Cincinnati's got their number. I agree. I actually agree with you, believe it or not. Greg, I know I'm actually agreeing with Monte. Greg, don't get mad at me, but I do think it's going to be a Cincinnati-Philadelphia Super Bowl. And damn it, I'm taking Philadelphia. I just think the running game is
that offensive line is so good.
Yeah, I think their offensive line is just going to be too much for Cincinnati's defense. It'll be a hell of a game because I think Burrow can put points up against the Eagles. And I would actually see that game, wouldn't surprise me if it ended up like 31-27.
And my MVP is Jalen Hurts. The guy, and I don't want to bring race into this, but Chris Sims is going off about here saying, they have a great offensive line, they have a great wide receiver, they have a great running game. Did he ever say that when Aaron Rodgers won it 2 years ago when they had a dominant offensive line, 2 legit running backs and Devontae Adams? Jalen Hurts is doing things that no other quarterback has done. Again, he's the first quarterback in his first 30 starts to throw for 6,000 yards, rush for 1,500. Kyler Murray didn't do that. Look at any running court. Josh Allen didn't do that, right? So I don't see the criticism. But he's got a great team. He's the one who's making them better.
Yeah. Chris Sims is an idiot. He can't be. He's nothing like his dad. Okay, I'm just kidding. He's an idiot. He couldn't make it as a player, so now he's got to talk. He's nowhere near as good as his dad on the mic.
Right.
So Chris Sims, just shut the hell up. Okay.
Yeah,
no one cares what you think. I can't believe you actually gave him run on this show.
You're right. Let's move on and not talk about that. So do you have Jalen Hurts winning the MVP?
Yes, I do. I think,
over Mahomes.
Over Mahomes. It's getting to a point where what Mahomes is doing is become passe. He's done
bored of it.
And that's weird to say it, but he still does some amazing things. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where it's second nature for him to do stuff like that. And it's kind of a detriment to him. People are going to take it for granted, the stuff that he does. And maybe there's going to be seasons where he deserves the MVP, but they're like, he's already done this, and they're going to see somebody else. And right now, Jalen Hurts is, I would give it to him almost in a walk, the way he's playing this year.
Me too. All right, final question. I have Georgia beating Michigan. I thought Alabama should have gone to the Final Four just because they beat TCU by 30 on a neutral field. Alabama, although if you look at now, they've lost I think 16 players are transferring in the portal. I have Georgia and Michigan in the national championship game with Georgia winning.
Yeah, I could see that. If Georgia's defense keeps playing the way they're doing, I don't know if it'd be as embarrassing as it was last year when they played Michigan in the college football playoffs. But yeah, I just don't see Michigan. It'll be closer, but I just don't see Michigan being at the level of Georgia right now.
Michigan's very good, though. They're very good.
Yeah,
I saw them 3 years ago play against Alabama in a game that I covered here in Florida, and I just said right now Michigan doesn't have the speed. But now what Harbaugh has done, they have bullied Ohio State in their last two games. They run the ball with anyone in the league, and their quarterback's playing better. Michigan is a legitimate top 5 team, and people wanted to fire Harbaugh 3 years ago.
Oh, they wanted to fire Harbaugh because he couldn't beat Ohio State until last year. I mean, that's the big problem. If you can't win against your rivals, Michigan can go 11-1 every year, but you keep losing to Ohio State, you're going to get run out the door.
Exactly.
That's bottom line, especially in the Midwest. I mean, even over here, if you keep losing to UCLA and Notre Dame, eventually you're going to get run. Those are the two games you cannot lose consistently. SC fans won't put up for it. The boosters won't put up for it. But the thing with Georgia is they're physical and they're fast.
Yeah.
They got both heads of the monster, physicality and speed. I just don't see anybody beating this team right now. But they could be, if they lose, it's because they beat themselves.
Are you rooting for Argentina and Messi to take home his first ever World Cup?
Well, how can you not root for Messi and Argentina? How can you not, man? He was the sentimental favorite. I think coming in. I know a lot of people were hoping. I know the Simpsons got it wrong, Portugal and Mexico.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people are hoping to see Portugal and Argentina, Ronaldo against Messi. No disrespect to the French, but I'm pulling for Argentina. I would love to see Messi lift that cup. I think it'd be tremendous for.
Are you getting up for that game? It's 7 a.m. your time.
I'm gonna try. I can't promise that. I know who will be getting up. My youngest son Ramon. Believe it or not, he's into watching this. He gets up.
Oh, I love it. I love the World Cup. Yeah. Oh, France is looking good.
Yeah. No, the World Cup is the one time I really watch soccer.
Yeah,
I'm watching it, but I'm going to try to get up. I just can't guarantee that I will.
France is looking to become the first team to win back-to-back World Cups since Argentina did it in 58 and 62. So I'm all in on Messi. All right, George, this was great. Thank you so much. I had a cancellation. You filled in. I said at the start of the show, you're like a utility player, but you're really a starter. So I appreciate you coming on and bringing the heat. How can we follow you? How can we support you? Tell the fans what's coming on with you.
Oh, well, we'll be coming on. My article right now that I did for the Ram Packer preview for Monday night is on Nuts and Bolts Sports Media, or Nuts and Bolts Media, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I will be working.
Team MBS Media.
Team MBS Media. I'm actually kind of stoked about this. I know we talked about it a little bit during the show. I actually did get a media credential to cover the Holiday Bowl on December 28th down in San Diego. So this Thursday, I'm actually driving down to pick up my credential. So I'm actually looking forward to that. Joe, our
How long of a drive is it? How long of a drive?
Hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, it's not too bad.
Not too bad. There'll be some traffic, but I'll get there early the day of. I know Joe, he mentioned it. I'm jealous. You're going to get to see a good game in the press box with the big boys. When he mentioned the big boys, that's what I really got nervous. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be sitting with these guys who've been doing this for a long time. And okay, it's a good nervous. But
let me just explain. There's nothing to be nervous about because you're not announcing the game with a bunch of people. They sit there, they watch, and you talk about the plays. You know more football and college football than anyone I know when it comes to LA sports. Pac-12. You can hang with anyone, bro. You don't need to be nervous. It's an excitement. It's going to be fun. When I cover games, I go in there believing that. Listen, I say this all the time. When a radio station calls me soon and they offer me a job and they say, "Hey, you got to talk 3 hours on NBA, NFL," I'm ready. You're ready. Yeah. You've been ready for years, bro.
Yeah. I look at it's a good nervous.
Yeah.
If I wasn't nervous, then I'd be concerned. So this weekend I'm actually working on trying to get my stuff down because I know I got to do not that I have to, but I'm gonna do a preview of the game. Right. And it's got to be a lot more than what I'm doing with the Ram previews. So I really got to dig down deep into it to get information on North Carolina and see what information I can really gather about Oregon. I'm not going to make a prediction in the game when I do the preview. I'm just going to break it down between both teams, what to look for. And get that on Team MBS Media before the game.
There's an app. I don't know if you have it. There's an app that I use all the time when I write articles called the Score app. And what it does is you just go to college football and you'll see the games and you just click on the team and it shows you what they're ranked offensively, defensively, their percentage on third down. So those are things that I use all the time when I'm doing this show or when I'm talking about a preview. So definitely, if you don't have it, download the Score app.
Definitely will do that. I know it was on Oregon football's website, so I was jotting some stuff down. I guess I got to get into North Carolina's as well, so I can get that article ready. And then I'll do, obviously, after the game, I'll have an article prepared for the game itself. And hopefully I get some quotes from the coaches or some players after the game in the press conference.
That's the funnest part. I asked Jim Harbaugh because everyone was talking about the game, and you could tell he was miserable. And I have the quote on my website, the actual video, where I said, can you just talk about your senior leadership and what they've meant to you? You never want to end with the loss, but what do these guys mean to you? And he literally looked at me and answered the question for about a minute because he was like, I want these guys to come back every year. I want them to be a part of it. So if you're interviewing the losing team, try to focus on a positive because everyone's going to come at them with negative stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, I was annoyed because ESPN ran that clip on their radio highlight, and they didn't run my question. They just ran his answer. I'm talking about his seniors.
I'll be honest, because of you, Monte, I'm actually hoping I get the question or interview Bo Nix.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to be able to at least ask him something in the press conference. So I'm looking forward to that.
Listen, if you need any help preparing Oregon, I've watched every game. So just give me a call and we'll take it from there. All right, George, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games today. Appreciate you coming on. We'll see you down the road.
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to go head to my son's final high school fall league game this morning in about an hour and a half. And then
what do they play, like a Major League Baseball schedule? What do they play, 100 games a year?
The high school does a fall league. The coach uses it as like an evaluation for players that are trying out for the team. It's loosely affiliated with the school, so they play like maybe 10 games in the fall.
Oh, okay.
This will be the last one. Then they'll get started up again in January for tryouts and get ready for the spring season. So, it's good, good to get the guys out there, get some reps. So, one more to go, and then then I'll get to torture them with the Vikings if they lose to Indianapolis, which they shouldn't. but I'll torture them a little bit. So,
all right, George, always a pleasure. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
whoa! I cut him off. I'm sorry about that. He was going to say have a Merry Christmas. Damn it, I didn't want to do that. All right. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for watching. Again, we're off tomorrow because of the World Cup. We are going to be back Monday night with Brad and A. Marie, Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
Sushi. They were worried about cold butt.